You ever reach a point where the people who once told you you'd never be enough suddenly want to sit at your table? That's where my story starts. Not with the Porsche, not with the Instagram post, with the silence before all of that. The kind that teaches you exactly who loves you and who just loves control. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. My name's Leela. I'm 29, born and raised in a small conservative town where people cared more about appearances than emotions. My parents were the kind of strict that came gift-wrapped in religion and reputation. Dad was an accountant, steady, quiet, believed that hard work and obedience were the same thing. Mom ran the house like a company, every minute accounted for, every rule unbreakable. I was the smart kid, the one who did everything right because I thought that's how you earn love. Straight A's, trophies, polite smiles. I learned early that approval was a currency, and I wanted to be rich in it. But then I grew up, and life started showing me that obedience can make you invisible. When I met Daniel, I was 24, fresh out of grad school, working my first real job at a tech startup in the city. He was different, funny, gentle, and loud in the best way. The kind of guy who looked you in the eye like he saw the person underneath the armor. The problem? He wasn't from our culture. Different background, different religion. At first, I thought it wouldn't matter. I thought my parents loved me enough to see past it. So I brought him home. I remember that night perfectly. The smell of spice in the kitchen, the way my mom kept wiping the same countertop over and over instead of looking at him. Dinner lasted 20 minutes. She asked him what his parents did, if he went to church, if he believed in God. He answered every question kindly. And when he left, she turned to me and said, "You're not serious about him." I told her I was. She said, "Then you're choosing him over us." That was the first crack. For months, I tried to make them understand, tried to prove that love doesn't erase identity, it expands it. But the harder I tried, the more distant they became. When Daniel proposed, I cried, not just from joy, but fear, because I knew what was coming. Mom called me the night before the wedding. Her voice was steady, like she'd rehearsed it. "We won't come, Leela. It wouldn't be right. You're marrying outside your faith. We can't bless that." I begged. I said, "Just come. You don't even have to agree. Just be there." She said, "You made your choice." Click. That was it. The next day, I walked down the aisle without them. Daniel was waiting, smiling, tears in his eyes. His parents held me like I was already theirs, and I remember thinking, so this is what unconditional feels like. But it didn't stop the ache, because no matter how much you tell yourself you don't need them, there's a small part that still wishes they'd show up. I tried to call them a few times after that. Birthdays, holidays. Mom would answer sometimes, short, polite, always ending with, "We're fine." Eventually, I stopped dialing. So I did what I've always done. I worked. I built my own thing, a marketing consultancy that started in my kitchen with one client and a second-hand laptop. It was chaos for a year. I was broke, exhausted, and scared, but I kept going. Because somewhere under all that pain was a quiet promise to myself, if they won't be proud of who I love, they'll damn sure be proud of what I become. And slowly, it started to happen. Clients grew. Contracts got bigger. I remember the day I hit 6 figures, I sat on my apartment floor with a glass of cheap wine and just laughed. It wasn't about money. It was about survival finally paying rent. Then came the Porsche. It was blue, sleek, unapologetic. The kind of car you buy when you stop asking for permission to shine. I didn't even plan to post it. Daniel convinced me. He said, "Show the world what you built." So I did. One photo, no caption, just me leaning against it, sun on my face. It took less than 48 hours. That's when she called. After 2 years of nothing. Her voice was exactly the same, calm, controlled. "Leela, we need to talk. Family meeting tomorrow at 6. No hello, no explanation, just the same command tone she'd used my whole life. And I remember sitting there, engine humming beneath me, staring out at the streetlights, thinking, so that's what it takes for you to call me? $150,000 car. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel angry right away. I just felt confirmed. All those years, I'd wondered if maybe I was the one who gave up too easily. Maybe I should have tried harder. Maybe love was supposed to hurt a little. That call was the answer. They didn't want me. They wanted proof that they hadn't failed. So the next day, I went. Not because I owed them anything, but because I needed to see it with my own eyes. The house looked smaller, the paint duller, but the smell, God, that same mix of turmeric and soap dragged me straight back to childhood. She opened the door, same apron, same tight smile. Dad behind her, silent as always. I said, "Hi." She said, "You came." And that's when I realized I'd already won. Because 2 years ago, I was the disgrace. And now, I was the guest of honor. So I walk in, and everything feels smaller. Same couch, same curtains, but the air's different. Like even the walls are holding their breath. Dad nods toward the chair across from him. I sit. My keys are still in my hand. Part of me's ready to leave before we even start. Mom says, "We saw your picture." That's her opening line. Not, "How are you?" Not, "We missed you." Just that. I say, "Yeah, guess Instagram travels fast." She folds her hands and says, "You've done well for yourself." I nod. "Yeah, I have." Then she asks the question that tells me exactly why I'm here. "You bought that car with your husband's money?" And I laugh right there because I can't help it. 2 years of silence, and that's the first real thing she wants to know. Whose name is on the check? "No, Mom," I tell her, "with mine." Dad clears his throat. "You make that kind of money?" "I make more." The words just come out, not to brag, just to end the conversation they thought they were having. There's a long pause. Then Dad says, "Success can go to your head." I look him straight in the eye. So can pride. He looks away. Mom shifts like she wants to change the subject. "Your brother's having a hard time with his business. Maybe you could look at his numbers, give him some advice." And there it is, the real reason for this meeting. Not closure, not family, an opportunity for them. I lean back and say nothing. She keeps talking about family helping family, about keeping up appearances, about how people ask where I've been. And I'm just watching her mouth move, thinking, you really don't see it, do you? All this time, she thought I left because of Daniel. But I left because of this. Because of the way she could erase me and then expect me to reappear when it's convenient. Finally, I interrupt. "Mom," I say, "you didn't call me when I got married. You didn't call when I got promoted. You didn't call when Daniel's mother died. But you saw a car and suddenly we're family again?" She opens her mouth, but nothing comes out. I keep going, because for once, I'm not swallowing it. "You talk about values, about respect, but respects a two-way street, and you parked on one side for years. The room goes silent. You could hear the clock ticking, and for a second, I think she might cry. But instead, she whispers, "We just wanted what was best for you." I nod. "No, you wanted what was best for your reputation." She flinches. Dad shifts in his chair, and I realize that every part of me that used to want their approval is just gone. I stand up. Mom says, "You're leaving already?" "Yeah," I say. "Meeting's over." She reaches out half a step forward. "Leela, wait." And I turn back, hand on the doorframe, heart pounding but steady. "I waited," I tell her, "at my wedding. I waited for you to show up. You didn't. You can keep waiting for me to forget that, but I won't." She starts to say something else, but I don't stay to hear it. I walk out, open the door, and that old porch light hits me in the face. It's the same bulb that used to guide me home when I was a kid. Now it just looks dim. The night air hits like freedom. I climb into the porch, shut the door, and for a minute I just sit there, hands on the wheel, breathing. And that's when it happens, that quiet kind of crying, where you're not even sure if it's sadness or relief. Because it's both. Because you can love people and still know they're not good for you. I start the car, the engine hums, low and smooth, like it knows this moment matters. I look at the house one more time, the shadows behind the curtains, the flicker of that porch light, and I whisper, "You taught me how to survive without you. Thank you." Then I drive. The road opens up in front of me, empty, waiting. City lights blur into gold streaks, the wind's in my hair, and for the first time in a long time, I don't feel like I'm running from something. I'm driving toward myself. People think revenge is loud, shouting, winning, rubbing success in someone's face, but it isn't. Revenge is peace. It's pulling away from the house that once broke you and realizing you don't need to go back. A few weeks later, I get a letter. No name, just the old address. Inside, a photo. Me, a 10, standing between them at a science fair, holding a little trophy. On the back, in Mom's handwriting, 3 words. "We were wrong." And you know what? I didn't call. Not out of hate, out of balance. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is let people sit in the silence they created. So yeah, they ignored my wedding, but they'll never be able to ignore the woman who walked out of that house, got in her car, and finally drove her own story. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share this story with your friend and family.